The great space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. It was huge, bigger than most moons. Lights covered its surface like tiny stars. Ships from 12 different worlds docked at its ports every day. This was where the Galactic Council met to make decisions for billions of beings across the galaxy. Today, something was wrong. The station buzzed with angry voices and worried whispers. In the main council chamber, representatives from 12 alien species sat in a large circle. Their seats were designed for different body types. Some were tall and thin, others short and wide. A few needed special breathing equipment. At the center of the circle stood a creature that looked like a giant insect. Its black shell gleamed under the lights. 4 arms moved as it spoke, and its voice made a clicking sound. This was Hive Admiral Thektar of the Vrex hegemony. The Vrex were known across the galaxy as fierce warriors. Their ships looked like living creatures and could heal themselves during battle. The humans must go. Thektar clicked. His large eyes stared at each council member. They take our space. They build on worlds that belong to us. We have been patient for 50 years, but no more. An old reptilian creature with golden scales raised a clawed hand. The humans have followed all agreements. They have not broken any laws. Thektar's mandibles clicked faster, showing his anger. Laws? What laws did they follow when they first came to our galaxy? They arrived with their crude metal ships and asked for nothing. They simply took what they wanted. A floating jellyfish-like being pulsed with blue light. When it spoke, its voice sounded like music. The humans asked permission. We gave it to them. They have been good neighbors. Good neighbors? Thektar laughed, a harsh sound. They multiply like insects. 50 years ago, they had 1 world. Now they have 27 colonies. In another 50 years, they will have hundreds. They will push all of us out. The council chamber grew quiet. Many of the representatives looked uncomfortable. They remembered when humans first appeared in their galaxy. The strange bipedal creatures had seemed so primitive. Their ships were made of simple metal and ran on chemical fuel. Compared to the advanced bioships of the Vrex or the crystal vessels of other species, human technology looked like toys. But humans learned fast. Too fast, some thought. A tall, pale humanoid with 4 arms spoke next. What do you propose, Hive Admiral? Thektar spread all 4 of his arms wide. Simple. The humans leave all colonies beyond their home system. They go back to their 1 world and stay there. If they refuse, we make them leave. You speak of war, the musical jellyfish said, its lights flickering red. I speak of order. Thektar replied. The Vrex hegemony has kept peace in this region for 3,000 years. We know how to deal with aggressive species. Far away from the council station, Admiral Kang Deho stood on the bridge of his flagship, Terra's Pride. He was a tall man with graying hair and serious eyes. He had spent most of his life in space, first exploring new worlds, then protecting human colonies from pirates and dangerous creatures. The bridge was busy but quiet. His crew worked at their stations with practiced skill. Captain Park Minho, his second-in-command, walked over with a worried expression. Admiral, we just received an emergency message from Earth, Park said quietly. Kang took the datapad and read quickly. His face grew dark as he read. Assemble the senior staff in conference room 1 now. Minutes later, 6 officers sat around a metal table. Dr. Yoon Ji-won, the ship's xenobiologist and diplomatic expert, looked at the message with concern. Chief Engineer Han Minji tapped her fingers on the table nervously. Commander Lee Jinho crossed his arms and waited. The Galactic Council has given us an ultimatum, Kang said. 7 days to withdraw from all colonies beyond Earth. If we refuse, they will use force to remove us. That's impossible, Dr. Yoon said. We have legal rights to those worlds. We followed all the proper procedures. The Vrex don't care about legal rights, Captain Park replied. They only understand strength. Commander Lee leaned forward. How many ships do they have? Intelligence reports suggest the Vrex can field over 1,000 ships, Kang answered. Other council species could add another 500 if they choose to help. Han Minji stopped tapping her fingers. And we have 47 ships in this sector, maybe 100 more spread across human space. The room fell silent. The numbers seemed hopeless. Dr. Yoon spoke first. Perhaps we can negotiate. Not all council members support this. Some species have been friendly with us. The Vrex won't negotiate, Kang said firmly. They see us as a threat to their dominance. They want us gone or dead. Captain Park studied the star charts on the wall. What about Earth Command? What are their orders? Kang's expression grew hard. Earth Command says we are authorized to defend our colonies by any means necessary. They're recalling all ships for emergency positions. Any means necessary, Han repeated quietly. She looked at the others. Do they know? Know what? Dr. Yoon asked. About the new ships, about what we've been building in the outer shipyards. Kang smiled for the first time since receiving the message. No, they don't know. The galaxy thinks we're still using the same primitive technology we had 50 years ago. Good, Commander Lee said. Let them think that. Back on Nexus Prime, the Council was voting. One by one, the species chose sides. Some supported the humans, but they were few and weak. Most were afraid of the Vrex or simply didn't care about humanity's fate. When the vote was finished, Thektar's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. It is decided. The humans have 7 days to leave their colonies. After that, we will remove them ourselves. The human ambassador, a middle-aged woman named Cho Sunwoo, stood slowly. She had listened to hours of debate about her species' fate. Now she looked at each council member in turn. The human species has lived in peace with all of you, she said calmly. We have shared our knowledge and our friendship. We have asked for nothing but the right to exist and grow. If you choose to attack us, you will learn something about humanity that you do not expect. Thektar laughed. And what is that, little human? Ambassador Cho's eyes were steady and cold. You will learn that we are not as helpless as we look. She turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind her, alien voices rose in discussion and argument. Some laughed at her words. Others felt a strange unease. In 7 days, the galaxy would begin to understand what she meant. The countdown to war had begun. The Vrex didn't wait 7 days. They were too confident and too eager to show their power. On the 5th day, their massive fleet appeared at the edge of the new Busan system like a dark cloud of death. Colonel Kim Soo-young stood in the command center of New Busan Colony, watching the screens with growing alarm. The planet was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents that reminded everyone of Earth. 2.5 million humans called it home. Now all of them were in terrible danger. How many ships? She asked her communications officer. 800, Colonel. Maybe more. They're still coming through the jump point. Kim felt her stomach drop. 800 Virex bioships was an enormous force. Each ship was alive, grown in their breeding pools rather than built in factories. They could heal damage during battle and fight with the fury of wild animals. The largest ones were as big as human cruisers, with smaller fighters swarming around them like angry insects. Begin emergency evacuation procedures, she ordered. All civilian transports are to head for the outer planets immediately. Across the system, Admiral Kang Dae-ho received the same reports. His small fleet of 43 ships looked pitiful compared to the Rex Armada. Terra's Pride and her sister ships were spread in a defensive formation around New Busan's orbital stations. They looked small and fragile next to the organic monsters approaching them. Captain Park Min-ho studied the enemy formation on his tactical display. They're moving in their traditional swarm pattern. No surprises there. Any word from their commander? Kang asked. Yes, sir. Hive Admiral Thektar is demanding immediate surrender. He says they will spare civilian lives if we give up now. Kang's laugh was cold. And if we refuse? Complete destruction of all human presence in the system. Dr. Yoon Ji-won looked up from her console. Admiral, I'm detecting communication signals from other Council fleets. They're watching this battle from the edge of the system. How many observers? At least 50 ships from 6 different species. They want to see how this ends, Kang nodded grimly. This battle would send a message across the entire galaxy. If humanity was crushed here, no other species would dare oppose the Vrex again. But if somehow they could win... Open a channel to the Vrex flagship, he ordered. Thektar's ugly face appeared on the main screen. His mandibles clicked with amusement when he saw the human admiral. Behind him, the bridge of his bioship pulsed with living tissue and strange organic growths. Admiral Kang, the Vrex leader said mockingly, I remember you from the trade negotiations 5 years ago. You seemed more reasonable then. I'm going to give you one chance, Thektar, Kang replied calmly. Turn your ships around and leave human space. This is your only warning. The Vrex commander's laughter was like breaking glass. Warning? You have 43 primitive ships against my 800 bio-warriors. Your technology is 50 years behind ours. Your weapons cannot even penetrate our living armor. Other Vrex voices clicked and laughed in the background. They thought this was the funniest thing they had ever heard. I see you've made your choice, Kang said quietly. You have 15 minutes to reconsider. He cut the transmission. Captain Park looked at his admiral with concern. 15 minutes? What happens in 15 minutes? Kang smiled. We show them what human ships can really do. On the planet below, evacuation ships lifted off in streams of fire and smoke. Families grabbed what they could carry and ran for the spaceports. Children cried as their parents lifted them into cargo holds. Everyone knew this might be the last time they saw their homes. Colonel Kim watched the transports climbing into space. How many more? She asked. About 500,000 still need evacuation, her aide replied. At this rate, we need at least 6 more hours. Kim looked at the tactical display. The Vrex fleet was only 2 hours away from orbital range. The fleet will have to hold them. Can they do it? Kim had served in the military for 20 years. She knew the numbers. She knew the odds. But she also knew something else that the Vrex didn't. Yes, she said firmly. They can do it. In space, the Vrex fleet moved forward like a living wave. The bioships flexed and twisted as they flew, their organic hulls shifting color from dark green to angry red. Weapon ports opened like mouths along their sides. Acid projectors and plasma cannons powered up with hungry energy. Hive Admiral Thektar stood in his command chamber, surrounded by the pulsing walls of his living ship. Tactical displays grown from modified brain tissue showed him the human formation. The enemy ships looked so small and helpless. Begin the attack, he ordered. Destroy the orbital stations first, then the ships. Leave nothing alive. The first wave of Vrex fighters screamed toward the human positions. They moved fast, twisting and diving like real creatures hunting prey, their bioweapons charged with deadly energy. On Terra's Pride, Admiral Kang watched them come. His crew was tense but ready. These men and women had trained for this moment for years. They knew what to do. All ships, this is Admiral Kang, he said over the fleet communication system. Remember your training. Trust your equipment. And show these aliens what humans are really capable of. Captain Park counted down the distance. Enemy fighters in range in 60 seconds. Chief Engineer Han Minji sat at her special console, fingers dancing over controls that most people had never seen before. All drone bays report ready, Admiral. Commander Lee Jinho checked his weapon systems one more time. Everything showed green. Kinetic batteries charged and ready. Dr. Yoon monitored the enemy communications. The Vrex were chattering excitedly, already planning how to divide up human territory after their victory. They had no idea what was about to happen. 30 seconds, Park announced. The Vrex fighters came in fast and confident. They had fought dozens of species over thousands of years. They knew how space battles worked. Enemy ships would fire energy weapons or missiles. The Vrex bioarmor would absorb or deflect most damage. Their superior numbers would overwhelm any defense. 15 seconds. Admiral Kang raised his hand. Across the fleet, 43 ships waited for his signal. Hidden in their hulls, thousands of special weapons prepared to launch. 5 seconds. The Vrex fighters opened fire first, sending streams of plasma and acid toward the human ships. Some shots hit, causing damage to outer hulls. The aliens clicked with satisfaction. This was going exactly as expected. Then Admiral Kang dropped his hand. Release the hounds, he said quietly. What happened next changed everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare. Each human ship suddenly sprouted clouds of small objects that looked like escape pods or cargo containers. Hundreds from each vessel, thousands total, all launching at the same time. The Vrex pilots were confused. Were the humans abandoning ship already? Were those supply containers? Then the objects began to move. They weren't pods or containers. They were weapons unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Artificial intelligence controlled each one, and they moved with purpose and deadly grace. They accelerated to incredible speeds, far faster than any normal missile or fighter. What are those things? Thektar demanded from his flagship. His tactical officer, a smaller Vrex with nervous clicking sounds, studied the readings. Unknown, Hive Admiral. They appear to be some kind of drone weapon. Shoot them down. But the drones were too fast, too small, and too smart. They wove between Vrex fire like dancers avoiding raindrops, and they were accelerating to speeds that made Thektar's eyes widen in shock. In 15 minutes, the galaxy would learn a hard lesson about underestimating humans. The first wave of human drones hit the Vrex fighters like invisible hammers. There were no explosions, no bright flashes of energy. The drones were too small to carry large warheads. Instead, they carried something much more deadly: pure kinetic energy. Each drone was a guided projectile moving at a significant fraction of light speed. When they hit the Vrex bioships, physics did the rest. The living hulls that had protected the aliens for thousands of years became their weakness. The kinetic energy transferred through their organic tissue like shockwaves through water. Vrex Fighter Prime Ketfor had been alive for 60 years and fought in hundreds of battles. He had never seen anything like this. His bioship shuddered as something tiny punched clean through it from nose to tail. No explosion, no fire, just a small hole that somehow made his entire ship convulse in agony. What hit us? He clicked frantically to his ship mind. The living computer that controlled his vessel sent back sensations of confusion and pain. It couldn't understand what had hurt it so badly. Then another drone hit, and another. Each impact sent waves of destruction through the organic hull. Ketfor watched in horror as his ship began to die around him. The walls stopped pulsing. The lights went out. In space, his fighter tumbled helplessly as its life faded away. This scene repeated across the battle zone as hundreds of Vrex fighters simply stopped working. Their pilots sent desperate messages back to the main fleet, but most couldn't even describe what was happening to them. On Terra's Pride, Captain Park watched the tactical display with amazement. Direct hits on 80% of the first wave. They're just shutting down. Admiral Kang nodded grimly. Kinetic transfer through organic matter. We calculated this might happen, but seeing it is different. Chief Engineer Han monitored her drones as they continued their attack. Each one was controlled by an artificial intelligence that could think and react faster than any biological pilot. They moved in complex patterns, impossible for organic minds to predict or counter. Second wave of drones launched, she reported, targeting the escort cruisers. The larger Vrex ships tried to defend themselves, but their bioweapons were designed to fight other energy-based weapons and conventional missiles. The human drones were neither. They were tiny, fast, and guided by computers that could calculate trajectories in microseconds. Hive Admiral Thektar watched from his flagship as his carefully planned attack turned into chaos. His advanced bioships, each one worth a small planet's resources, were being destroyed by weapons he didn't understand. How are they doing this? He demanded. His science officer, a pale, grub-like creature that lived symbiotically in the ship's brain, writhed with distress. The humans are using kinetic weapons, Hive Admiral. Pure mass and velocity. Our bio-armor is designed to absorb energy and regenerate from chemical damage. But these projectiles simply punch through everything, then adapt. That's what bioships do. We cannot adapt fast enough. These weapons hit with the force of small meteors. Even if we could grow thicker armor, it would take days. Thektar's mandibles clicked with fury. All ships focus fire on the human vessels. Ignore the drones. Destroy the source. But the human ships were no longer where they had been. While the Vrex focused on the mysterious drones, Admiral Kang had moved his fleet into a new formation. They spread out, using the orbital stations and asteroid field for cover. Commander Lee Jinho smiled as he watched the Vrex plasma bolts miss their targets. They're firing where we were, not where we are. Keep moving, Kang ordered. Don't let them get a fix on our position. Dr. Yoon monitored the enemy communications. The Vrex were panicking. Their language was full of clicking distress calls and confused orders. Admiral, they're trying to retreat. Let them try. The third wave of drones had reached the main Vrex fleet. These were larger and carried more powerful kinetic penetrators. When they hit the biocruisers, the results were devastating. Ships that had served the hegemony for centuries suddenly found themselves dying in ways they had never experienced. The living hulls tried to seal the wounds, but the kinetic damage was too extensive. Hydrostatic shock traveled through their organic systems, damaging vital organs and neural networks. One by one, the great bioships began to drift as their life functions failed. On the planet below, Colonel Kim watched the battle through orbital telescopes. What she saw didn't seem possible. The massive Vrex fleet was breaking apart. Ships that had looked unstoppable an hour ago were now floating dead in space. Are we winning? Her aide asked in disbelief. We're not just winning, Kim replied. We're destroying them completely. In the observation area at the edge of the system, representatives from 6 council species watched in stunned silence. Their ships remained hidden behind a moon, but their sensors recorded everything. Captain Keltar of the Corvin Imperium studied the readings with growing alarm. The reptilian warrior had planned to attack human space next, but now he wasn't so sure. How many human ships have been destroyed? He asked his tactical officer. 3 damaged, none destroyed, came the reply. And the Virex? Over 400 confirmed kills. The rest are retreating or disabled. Captain Keltar's scales darkened with worry. The Corvin Imperium prided itself on military strength, but they had never seen anything like this. A smaller force completely destroying a larger one wasn't just victory, it was impossible. Back in the main battle, Hive Admiral Thektar made a desperate decision. His flagship was the largest and most powerful bioship ever grown. It carried enough firepower to destroy planets and armor that had never been penetrated. All remaining ships formed defensive formation around the flagship, he ordered. We'll show these humans what real power looks like. But Admiral Kang had been saving his best weapons for last. The largest drones, each one the size of a fighter craft, carried kinetic penetrators that could punch through anything. They moved in perfect coordination, guided by artificial intelligences that had studied every weakness in Vrex bioship design. The attack on Thektar's flagship was beautiful and terrible to watch. Dozens of large drones approached from different angles, their movements timed to the microsecond. The bioship's defensive fire couldn't track them all. When the first penetrator hit, it created a hole 3 meters wide straight through the ship's core. The second hit the main neural center. The third and fourth destroyed the primary weapon systems. In less than 10 seconds, the pride of the Vrex fleet was reduced to dying organic matter floating in space. Hive Admiral Thektar felt his ship's death agony through his neural connection. The pain was unbearable, like having his own body torn apart piece by piece. His final transmission was a mixture of rage and something the galaxy had never heard from the Vrex before. Fear. This is impossible, he clicked weakly. No species is this advanced. No one fights like this. Admiral Kang's voice came back clear and calm. You're right, Thektar. No one fights like this. That's because no one else is human. The transmission ended as the Vrex flagship finally died. Within 30 minutes of the first drone launch, the most powerful military force in this region of the galaxy had been completely destroyed. Only a few damaged ships managed to escape, carrying word of the disaster back to Vrex space. The galaxy had just learned its first lesson about human warfare, but it wouldn't be the last. News of the battle at New Busan spread through the galaxy faster than the fastest ships. Within hours, every major species had received detailed reports from their observers. The reaction was the same everywhere: shock, disbelief, and growing fear. On the crystalline world of Zephi Prime, the Council of Harmonics gathered in their singing chambers. These beings communicated through musical tones that could travel through crystal walls. Today, their usual gentle melodies were replaced by harsh, discordant sounds of alarm. High Singer Velnara's crystalline body pulsed with worried light. The reports cannot be accurate, she sang in low, troubled notes. No species could develop such technology in only 50 years. Her advisor, a smaller crystal being, replied with sharp, staccato tones. The sensor readings are confirmed by 6 different observation teams. The humans destroyed over 400 Vrex bioships in less than 1 hour. Impossible, Velnara sang, but her light flickered with uncertainty. On the other side of the galaxy, the Corvin Imperium held an emergency session of their war council. The great pyramid-shaped building on their homeworld shook with the roars and growls of angry reptilian warriors. These beings had built their society on military conquest and personal combat. General Sektar slammed his clawed fist on the metal table. The Vrex were weak. Their bioships were always overrated. We would have done better. But Admiral Morkath, an older reptile with battle scars covering his scaled hide, shook his massive head. I have studied the battle recordings. These human weapons are unlike anything we've seen. They use pure kinetic energy delivered by artificial intelligence. Our armor would be no more effective than the Vrex biohulls. You suggest we fear these mammals? Sektar snarled. I suggest we think carefully before we act, Morkath replied calmly. The humans defeated a force 20 times their size without losing a single ship. That is not luck. That is superior technology and tactics. Back on Earth, Fleet Admiral Baek Tae-hyun stood in the command center buried deep beneath the Korean mountains. Banks of computers and communication equipment surrounded him, connecting Earth to every human colony and fleet across their space. Dr. Im Hye-jin, The military's top strategic analyst, studied the after-action reports with intense concentration. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who could see patterns others missed. "The galaxy is in shock," she reported. "Intelligence intercepts show panic among several major species. The Corvan Imperium has recalled their expansion fleets. The Thraxian Union is requesting emergency negotiations with our diplomatic corps." Admiral Back nodded slowly. "What about the wreck survivors?" "Approximately 60 ships escaped. They're spreading the story across wreck space, but no one believes them. The hegemony is demanding proof. They'll get proof when they try to attack us again," Beck said grimly. Dr. Im pulled up a star map showing the local region of the galaxy. Human space was marked in blue, a small cluster of systems compared to the vast territories of older species. "Sir, we have a problem. Several species are forming alliances to investigate our technology. They're scared, and scared beings do stupid things." Admiral Beck studied the map. "How much time do we have?" "Unknown. But intelligence suggests the Council will demand a full inspection of our military capabilities within the month. Then we'd better be ready." Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Emergency sessions ran day and night as representatives tried to understand what had happened. The great circular chamber buzzed with excited and worried voices in dozens of languages. Ambassador Cho Sunwoo sat in the human section, calmly reading reports on her datapad. Around her, alien beings pointed and whispered. Some looked at her with new respect. Others glared with barely hidden hostility. The Aquilian representative, a tall blue-skinned humanoid with gills, approached her seat. "Ambassador Cho, the Council demands an explanation. How did your species develop such advanced weapons?" Cho looked up from her reading. "The same way every species develops new technology, Ambassador Kelvin. Through research, experimentation, and hard work. In only 50 years. Impossible. Difficult, perhaps, but not impossible for humans." Kelvin's gills fluttered with agitation. "The Council believes your people may have discovered ancient technology or received help from an unknown species." Cho's smile was cold. "The Council is welcome to believe whatever makes them comfortable. The truth remains the same. Humanity developed these weapons through our own efforts." Across the chamber, the surviving Vrex representative, Sub-Hive Commander Yektal, clicked angrily. "The humans must have cheated. No species could defeat the hegemony in fair combat." "Fair combat?" Cho stood and walked to the center of the chamber. Her voice carried clearly to every representative. "Your Hive Admiral attacked our colony with 800 ships against our 43. You call that fair?" Yektal's mandibles clicked faster. "Numbers mean nothing. The Vrex are superior warriors." "Were," Cho corrected quietly. Past tense, the chamber fell silent. The simple correction carried more weight than any threat. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy began to change. Species that had planned aggressive expansion suddenly reconsidered their goals. Trade agreements with human colonies, once seen as jokes, became highly sought after. Diplomatic missions to human space increased dramatically. Captain Park Minho commanded one of the patrol fleets protecting the trade routes. His small squadron of 5 ships now carried more respect than entire battle fleets from other species. When pirates or raiders saw human ships approaching, they usually ran without fighting. "It's strange," he told Dr. Yoon during one of their regular conversations. "We wanted to be accepted as equals. Instead, they fear us as superiors." Dr. Yoon, now serving as a diplomatic advisor to several human colonies, nodded thoughtfully. "Fear is not the same as respect, but it's better than being ignored or attacked." "Is it, though?" "Fear breeds resentment. Resentment leads to secret alliances and surprise attacks." "True. That's why we need to be very careful about our next steps." On Earth, Admiral Bayek was having the same conversation with his staff. The victory at New Busan had bought humanity respect and space to breathe, but it had also painted a target on their back. Multiple intelligence sources confirmed that several species are forming research coalitions to study our technology, Dr. Im reported. Others are developing new weapons specifically designed to counter our kinetic drones. "Good," Admiral Beck replied, surprising everyone in the room. "Sir?" "Competition drives innovation. If they're working harder to build better weapons, we'll have to work even harder. In 10 years, we'll be so far ahead they won't be able to catch up." Chief Engineer Han Minji, now promoted to Director of Advanced Weapons Research, smiled. "The new shipyards are already producing the next generation of drones. These ones are even faster and smarter. How much faster? Dr. Im asked. Fast enough, Han replied mysteriously. But perhaps the most important conversation was happening in a small apartment on New Busan. Colonel Kim Soo-young had returned to the planet after the evacuation was called off. She stood on her balcony looking up at the night sky where the battle had taken place. Her daughter, a 10-year-old girl named Kim Ji-soo, joined her outside. Mom, are the bad aliens gone? Kim put her arm around her daughter. For now, sweetheart. For now. Will they come back? Kim thought about the question carefully. Her daughter deserved an honest answer. Maybe, but if they do, we'll be ready. Ji-soo looked up at the stars with curious eyes. Are we the strongest ones now? We're strong enough, Kim replied. But more importantly, we're smart enough to use our strength wisely. The galaxy was learning that humans were not the weak newcomers they had appeared to be. But humanity was also learning that with great power came great responsibility. The next test would be how they used their new position in galactic politics. That test was coming sooner than anyone expected. 3 months after the Battle of New Busan, the galaxy had settled into a new and uneasy peace. The Vrex hegemony had collapsed as predicted. Without their military superiority, the various castes and client species had broken away to form their own governments. Some asked for human protection, offering technology and trade in exchange for security. The Great Council chamber on Nexus Prime looked different now. The circular seating arrangement was the same, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Where once there had been casual dismissal of the human representative, now there was careful attention to every word Ambassador Cho spoke. Today was special. For the first time in galactic history, a human leader was addressing the full council. President Ro Ji-hoon of Earth had traveled from the Sol system to present humanity's vision for the future. He was a calm man in his 60s, with gray hair and steady eyes. Unlike many politicians, he had served in the military before entering government. He understood both diplomacy and warfare, which made him the perfect choice for this moment. Honored representatives, President Ro began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. 3 months ago, humanity was given an ultimatum. We were told to abandon our colonies or face destruction. We chose a third option. We defended ourselves. The chamber was completely silent. Every representative listened carefully, knowing that these words would shape galactic politics for generations to come. Today, I come before you not as a conqueror, but as a partner. Humanity does not seek to dominate or control other species. We seek cooperation, mutual benefit, and lasting peace. A ripple of surprised murmurs ran through the chamber. This was not what many had expected to hear from the species that had just demonstrated overwhelming military superiority. President Ro activated a holographic display showing star charts and technical diagrams. To prove our commitment to peace, humanity is making an unprecedented offer. We will share our military technology with any species that joins the new Mutual Defense Compact. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Representatives jumped to their feet, clicking, chirping, and growling in excitement or alarm. Sharing military secrets was unheard of in galactic politics. Impossible, shouted the Corvan representative. No species shares their best weapons. President Ro waited for the noise to die down. Humanity is not like other species, General Sektar. We believe that security through transparency is stronger than security through secrecy. He gestured to the holographic display. These are the complete technical specifications for our kinetic drone systems, the artificial intelligence programming, the guidance systems, the manufacturing processes, everything. Dr. Yoon, now serving as humanity's chief scientific liaison, stood to address the technical questions that immediately followed. The technology is not as complex as it appears. The key breakthrough was in our approach to artificial intelligence and miniaturization, both fields where human research has been particularly successful. The Aquilian representative, Kelvin, raised a webbed hand. What do you require in return for this knowledge? Membership in the Mutual Defense Compact, President Ro replied. Any attack on a member species will be considered an attack on all members. Territorial disputes will be resolved through mandatory arbitration rather than warfare. Fleet Marshal Kang Daeho, recently promoted from admiral, activated another section of the display. To demonstrate our commitment to collective security, humanity is establishing joint patrol fleets. Our ships will protect the trade routes and colony worlds of all member species. The crystalline HFY representative sang a complex melody that the translators rendered as, "This proposal seems too generous. What benefit does humanity receive?" Ambassador Cho smiled. "Peace, prosperity, and the chance to explore the galaxy without constantly looking over our shoulders. Humanity has learned that the best way to ensure our own security is to ensure everyone's security." Over the following hours, President Rowe outlined the complete structure of the proposed compact: joint exploration missions, shared scientific research, coordinated disaster response, and mutual economic support. It was ambitious beyond anything the galaxy had ever attempted. But the most surprising announcement came at the end. "As a symbol of our commitment to this new era," President Rowe said, "humanity will construct a new space station to serve as the compact headquarters. This station will be built using both human technology and contributions from member species. It will be truly neutral ground, belonging to no single species but to all who choose peace over conflict." The vote took place the following day. One by one, species that had been enemies for centuries agreed to try something new. Even some former Vrex client species, now free to make their own decisions, chose to join the compact. The final tally was overwhelming. 47 species voted to join, with only 3 abstentions and no opposition. 6 months later, the new station called Harmony floated in neutral space at the intersection of several major trade routes. It was beautiful, combining the best of human engineering with alien artistic vision. Crystalline towers from the HFY curved around metal structures built by human shipyards. Organic growing chambers provided by former Vrex species contained the station's life support systems. Dr. Yoon stood on the main observation deck, watching ships from dozens of species dock peacefully at the station's ports. Traders, diplomats, scientists, and even tourists moved freely through the corridors. Children from different species played together in the recreation areas, learning each other's languages and customs. "Hard to believe this is the same galaxy that threatened to destroy us 6 months ago," said Captain Park, joining her at the window. "Not the same galaxy," Dr. Yoon replied. "A better galaxy, one that humanity helped create." Admiral Kang approached them carrying reports from the patrol fleets. "The pirate raids in the Outer Rim have dropped by 70%. The new joint task forces are working well." "Any word from the old Vrex core worlds?" Park asked. "Peaceful so far. The new democratic governments are more interested in rebuilding than revenge. Several have applied to join the compact." Dr. Yoon nodded with satisfaction. Sometimes the best way to defeat an enemy is to help them become a friend. But their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from the station's command center. Commander Lee Jinho's face appeared on the nearest display screen, his expression serious. "Dr. Yoon, we're receiving long-range sensor data from the deep space monitoring stations. There's something you need to see." The display switched to show a star map of the galaxy. At the very center where ancient civilizations were rumored to exist, something was stirring. Energy readings unlike anything in their databases. Signals that suggested technology far beyond anything known to current species. "How long until whatever it is reaches our region of the galaxy?" Admiral Kang asked. "Unknown. The signals are fragmented and hard to analyze. But based on the energy signatures, we're looking at something that makes our drone technology look primitive." Dr. Yoon felt a familiar chill of anticipation and fear. Humanity had just finished bringing peace to their corner of the galaxy. Now it seemed they might face a challenge that would test whether their new alliances could survive against truly ancient powers. "Inform President Rowe and the Compact Council immediately," she ordered, "and send a message to all patrol fleets. Tell them to be ready for anything." Captain Park looked out at the peaceful scene beyond the observation deck. "Think we can handle whatever's coming?" 6 months ago, the galaxy thought humanity was primitive and weak, Dr. Yoon replied. "They learned they were wrong about that. Now we have the combined knowledge and resources of 47 species. If something is coming from the galactic core, it's going to learn what the entire compact can do." Admiral Kang smiled grimly. "Besides, we've learned something important about dealing with superior forces." "What's that?" Park asked. "Superior forces usually have superior weaknesses. We just have to be smart enough to find them." As if in response to his words, another ship approached Harmony Station. This one was different from the others. Sleek, silver, and moving with a grace that suggested technology beyond current understanding. But instead of the aggressive posture of a warship, It transmitted standard peaceful approach codes. "Unknown vessel. This is Harmony Station," came the communication from the command center. "Please identify yourself." The response came in perfect human language. "This is the exploration vessel Curiosity. We represent the Wanderer Alliance from the Galactic Rim. We have been watching recent events with great interest. We wish to discuss membership in your mutual defense compact." Dr. Yoon, Admiral Kang, and Captain Park exchanged glances. The galaxy was apparently full of surprises. "It looks like we're about to learn how big this galaxy really is," Dr. Yoon said quietly. Outside the observation deck, stars wheeled in their ancient patterns. But now, instead of being points of light in an hostile darkness, they represented worlds full of friends and allies. Humanity had started their journey into space as weak newcomers begging for acceptance. Now they were the cornerstone of the largest peaceful alliance in galactic history. And whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them not as humans alone, but as part of something much greater than themselves.